Hello, my name is Ann Munoz, and I think we're going to start with an introduction, a 2-minute introduction of each of the candidates. And the first candidate is Othari Christian. Would you give a 2-minute introduction, Othari?
He's muted.
Can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
Hear you and see you.
Okay. All right. Good morning.
All three. I'm gonna stop for a minute.
Okay.
Can you see the clock? It's important you see it for time.
I don't see the clock.
Okay, we gotta hold for a second. Robert, they cannot see the clock. Okay, can you see it now?
No.
No.
Loading it up, I think.
Okay, Naomi, wait a minute. Okay, there we go. So
Okay.
all three.
I see it.
Okay, now we got you and the clock on. It's all yours.
All right. Good morning. My name is Othari Christian, and I am running for the West Contra Costa Unified School District Governing Board Area 2. I'm running because I care about our children and I want them to succeed. I graduated from John F. Kennedy High School. I earned my BA degree in Administration of Justice from Howard University and my BS degree in Bible Religious Education from Southwestern Christian College. For the past 15 years, I have served as the lead school campus safety officer at El Cerrito High School. Prior to that, I was a case manager for disadvantaged youth. Prior to that, I was an intake officer at the juvenile hall. I am the past president of the Iron Triangle Neighborhood Council and the Richmond NAACP. I have spent my career protecting children. Safe schools allow children to look forward. And when children do not feel safe at school, they do not learn. And sometimes they stop attending school. Not only must we protect students from physical and emotional harm, we must protect them from biological threats like COVID-19. As adults, our job is to create safe space for our children to explore and learn and grow. As your school board member trustee, I will promote policies that protect our children safe while removing barriers of learning. I will work in partnership with our entire school community to give our children the tools they need to reach their full potential. We will do this by centering our budget and work around learning, including entrepreneurship, career, and technical education, because every child deserves an opportunity to succeed. My priorities are safe schools, centering the budget around student success, and retaining and hiring the best staff for WCCUSD. Once again, my name is Othari Christian. I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Othari. And the next person for a 2-minute introduction will be Guadalupe Anyana. Miss Anyana, are you there?
Hello?
Okay.
Okay, I think she's changing because of her sound. She's getting another.
Okay.
Okay, I just saw her leave the screen.
Mm-hmm.
While we're waiting for her, although she's back on, but we cannot hear her. Okay, Guadalupe, will you speak? She's not being heard. Okay, Robert, can you assist in any kind of way? I don't know.
Guadalupe, can you hear us?
Why don't you nod your head or raise? Can you hear us? Raise your hand. Can you hear us?
Do you want to call in? Yes, I will. I'll put it in the.
Can she log out and log back in? That might sometimes it works when you log out and come back in. Sometimes the connection is better. Guadalupe, why don't you log out and then come back in? Let's see if that works before we're going on the phone. And while we're waiting, Tyra, one more time, just checking, did Audra, has she connected?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, she's there. I can try and see if Guadalupe is reconnected.
Oh, I see Goldie. I see her name now.
Yeah.
So why don't we have Goldie do her 2-minute introduction, and then we'll go back to Guadalupe.
Mm-hmm.
So Anne, let's have
Miss Williams, would you please give your 2-minute introduction and state a little bit about yourself?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, can't see
Yes.
you, but we can hear you.
Oh, you can't see me. Give me 1 second. Let me just, hold on. Give me 1 second. Are you able to see me now?
Yes, we see you
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I just want to take the time to thank you for having me. My name is Audra Goldie Williams. I am the co-chair of the Asset, a volunteer parent group in WCCUSD. We fought to get a resolution by the school board for our African American and Black students, and we won. Then we did a review and discovered that instead of $750,000 that was assigned to our children, they were actually entitled to over $7.2 million. So we went back to the board to fight again, and we won. And to date, $3.2 million has been assigned to the resolution. I own an HR consulting firm, and we specialize in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I will bring this work to our district on the school board, as well as my over 30 years of HR experience. I've been fighting for our children from the outside. Now, all of our children need me to fight from the inside. I've spent the last 14 years serving our children, our teachers, our families in various volunteer capacities within the district and the community. As ASAT co-chair on SEC several times, on PTAs, children's pastor, high school cheerleading coach, and I own and run a youth mentor program called Got Goals, which I'm in partnership with Girls Inc. Change is not coming, change is here. I am that change. I've been in this district for 14 years. If you look at my resume, I've always been in the community and working with our youth, not for a political career, but because that's where my heart is. I'm here, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to represent all of our children, and I'm ready to make change. Our children are not performing like they should. Our district is not performing like it should. So anybody that doesn't state that we need to make change, I don't know what they're looking at. But from what I'm looking at, change is needed, change is here, and I'm that change.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now is Guadalupe Anyana. Are you there, Guadalupe?
I don't see her name on the screen. Robert?
I see her,
Tyra?
but we still can't hear her.
Okay, well, we're going to start, and I apologize, but
Is
I
she
don't
gonna,
know, if we wait, we might not have enough time for all the questions.
Okay.
Always?
Is Guadalupe there though? Is she there?
She's here. Wait a minute. I think it says connecting audio now.
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I apologize to you all. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Guadalupe Yana, and I am running for the WCCUSD Board of Education. I've been a lifelong Richmond resident and mom of 4. I have been a student at West Contra Costa, former Richmond Unified. My experiences as a student, now parent, have been a big part of my commitment to this district. I am rooted in this community and have shown that throughout my commitment, participation, and many years of volunteering in many different sectors. in and outside of the schools. Currently, I am the adult chair of the Richmond Children and Youth Oversight Board for the City of Richmond and the vice chair on the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, the city CBOC for West Contra Costa. I also sit on the DLCAPS and MDAC. My plans after being elected in November are to have clarity and transparency around the budget in understandable terms and numbers so that the critical decisions that need to be made can be done with real accountability and understanding. Evaluating the distant learning program at a school-by-school basis, data that can be then used to address the supports needed. Also focusing in on community schools model at its intended potential with all stakeholders at the table to envision the difference of the neighborhood school, making it a hub, not just for education, but for family and community support that addresses the needs of a whole child. I have been endorsed by the Contra Costa Young Democrats, Richmond City Councilman Melvin Willis, John Maverick, and Eduardo Martinez, San Pablo Mayor Arturo Cruz, the Iron Triangle President Oscar Garcia, the 23rd Street Merchants Association, and community leaders like Romney Alamo Brown, founder of Soulful Softball Sunday, and Anselmo Ramirez, founder of the Moving Forward for Our Future. I thank you guys for your invitation to participate and want you to know that this November, go out, hear us out, hear the parent voice on the board, and do your due diligence and vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I'm going to begin the set of questions that we'll be asking. And the first question is, how will you address the budget issues? And this question is first for you, Othariq.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool. All right. First of all, let me just by saying that our present budget right now is $363 million. And right now we're over budget, where in this year that we're registering at $379 million. And so right now we are in a major crisis. Cuts have been made already. And also we are faced with major issues that's coming up. So when the new board takes place, we have to be ready to go and figure out how we're going to resolve these issues and how we're going to deal with the current cuts that's going to be coming, and it's coming. And so we're faced with a crisis. And so as board members, the new incoming board members, we want to make sure that we do the right job on what areas and what else needs to bring our budget down, that we will be able to be in the means of getting this district back in order. So we have a lot to do. So you need somebody that's going to get in there and get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Guadalupe, how would you answer the question? How will you address the budget issues? Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. To address the budget, I think we need to look at the budget and translate it into terms that can be understood, not just by the trustees, but all stakeholders, so that we can move forward with transparency and accountability. The biggest problem that we have right now is not knowing the exact numbers and where they're being put into. So I think really focusing in on the actual budget, the past budget that was passed won't, be accurate, this year just because of COVID. We're getting other funding. Our COLA funding has been cut. So really figuring out, where we're at, what do we need to do? Where do we want to be? And how do we get there with the financial, in the financial restraints that we have? So like I said, figuring out what the budget is and translating it so that all stakeholders can be at the table when decisions are being made. I think it's a time to listen and really address the issues that systematically and, as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Audra, how would you answer the same question? How will you address the budget issues?
She's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. There's a lot of things that we need to do. I would hold the superintendent accountable and his staff for producing accurate and timely reports. We would need to discuss how every dollar impacts students. I would support programs like eCollect to monitor annual measurable outcomes. I would explore options such as external auditing. I think community input and transparency are key. We need to be accountable to our community members. We need to measure and manage outcomes. The budget deficit from locals as well as COVID challenges. Funds need to be managed properly. I think that community impact is really important, and we should consider things like multiple language forums so that all community members are clear what's going on. We need to make the budget simple. We need to present it in a simple way so that the community can participate. Partnership will be key, and we need to listen. It's not one person figuring it out. It's us doing it collectively.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is, how will you address issues around equity? And I'm going to start with Audra.
Thank you very much for that. My company is an HR consulting group, and what we do is diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So in our district currently, there's not equity. So the reality is some of the things that we're doing on ASAT is we're intentionally going out and looking for providers to specifically address our underserved communities, our underserved students. So one of the things that we talk about, what I say all the time is equity in action is a lifestyle. So to achieve equity, it's not a thing that you acquire, it's something that you actually embody. So we would have to be dedicated as a district to decide we're going to impact, and people say dismantle systems of oppression, dismantle systems of racism. The reality is that's actually accurate. Systems that are currently in place are not working, and those systems don't have equity. So that means that we have to find systems that work, that provide and bring equity. Everyone's going to have to roll up our sleeves. We're going to have to dig in. We're going to have to make a life choice to change the way that we do things that we've always done. For equity to show up from top down, down up, everyone has to dig in, and everyone has to be able to come to the plate to make our district equitable to all of our students.
Thank you. And Guadalupe, how would you address equity, issues around equity?
Well, to me, equity comes from a place where we're making sure that we're just not giving the students what they need, but the supports to achieve the goals that we're setting for them. That's why my proposal for community schools is essential. Looking at what needs our schools have, how can we support those needs, and how can we build partnerships to support the achievement of our students? It's really essential that we focus in on our lower performing schools, making sure that they have the resources there and available, not just there. So sometimes the resources are there, but not available, and that we have systems in place to be able to see what's functioning and what's not functioning. We spend a lot of time in figuring out, where we're putting our money. We start a lot of programs, we invest a lot, but then we don't follow through. So I think it's time that we overlook and we actually sit down and have conversations with data that says, this is working for our students, this is not working, and, really figuring out what things are going to cost us, what can we afford, and what our goals are for the district.
Thank you. Othari, same question. How will you address issues around equity?
Yes, I can speak firsthand experience. Working at Elsterita High School, been there for 15 years, working day in and day out, and I see how our kids are treated when they come in from the flatlands, such as come from the Crescent Park or come from very other parts of Richmond. And when they come to Elsterita High School, they always say, Christian, we don't feel, like we want it here, or being brought into the family, or making things across the board equally, and making everybody feeling good. So like when kids come from low income areas or going to Elsterita High School and maybe going to Pinole or so forth. But the thing is that our district, we have to work hard on making sure equity is across the board, and that every staff, every teacher, everybody is on the same page to make sure that our kids are feeling safe and making sure our kids are loved on each and every single day, because we have to build the minds of all backgrounds, from all nationalities. We have to do the job of making things better. So as a board trustee, I would do that. I'm there. I see the reality of things. I see everyday reality. I see it, and I'm going to fight hard. I'm in the midst of the trenches, and I see it, and I want to fight for our young people and making sure that everything that our young people is going to have. So my job is to make it happen. And along with the board and working together as a team, we can do this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, what do you feel have been the issues around distance learning? Ask 03 again.
Yes, distance learning. Due to the COVID-19 that we're in, and due to the situation that we're facing that we never experienced before, we are in a major crisis throughout this nation. And so if we allow our students to come back to the school at this moment without a vaccine, without things that, if we don't have stuff in position to help our kids, we don't want nobody to get sick and die on us, or this to be taken home. So distance learning, we're going to have to be in this. So what we're going to have to do is improve in this distance learning until we come out of this crisis, until we can get back into our school buildings. But at this moment, we got to make sure that every kid has a tablet, making sure every kid has all the resources, the internet, making sure that the low-income families are being supported, making sure that we're connecting with them day in and day out. We have a job at hand. So that's my job as a trustee for Area 2 to make that happen.
Thank you very much. Guadalupe, how do you feel? What do you feel have been the issues around distance learning?
To me, the biggest problem has been the communication and lack of support to our most needed. We assume that all parents are tech savvy and can support the needs of their students, that they can and communicate with teachers and staff. There's a language barrier. How can we support and how can we expect our children to get educated if we're not giving not just the students, but the families the support that they need to be able to achieve the goals that we as a district are setting? We are the ones that are setting these goals. We are the ones that are putting the standards, but we also have to form partnerships and communicate that to the families, to the caretakers of the students that we're trying to educate. It's been really challenging, like I said, to many parents, especially working parents, to be able to facilitate, me as a parent, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and it's been really difficult. And I've been sitting with my children in and out every day, making sure they're signing on, making sure they understand, making sure that they get over, their everyday. So I can't not imagine what other parents are going through. So I think, we have a lot of communicating to do, not just for those that are tech savvy, but the ones that we haven't been able to reach. Right now we have around 500 students that are unaccounted to, especially in kindergarten. So how can we figure out where these students are, what the biggest needs are, and how can we communicate that to the people that we're expecting to support us and support the education of our children along the way?
Thank you. And Audra, same question for you. What do you feel have been the issues around distance learning?
Thank you for that. I can speak personally, and from what I'm hearing from other parents and caregivers, my team and community, our kids are getting more live instruction and support than they were in the spring. However, there's still lots of issues and concerns that they're facing. A lot of families still are not connected. That's key. If a child is not connected, there's no way that they're going to be able to learn. Just as Guadalupe said, if the parents are not connected, there's no way the kids are connected. Currently, I have my eyes on kids with special needs, English learners, and kids transitioning to new schools. And I'm talking about new kindergartners, new middle school, new high school, incoming freshmen. And also there's students that are transferring from other schools that are brand new to our district. I think personally that we need to support our students' mental health resources immediately. And this is not someday soon, immediately. I have a cheer team, and of my 30 children that are on that team, I'm listening to the things that they're saying and what I'm hearing from them, their friends, what I'm hearing from my children, what I'm hearing from the community. Some students are facing depression because they don't have their normal way of living. So one of the things I think we need to do immediately, and I've actually started, is I've talked to the JMP, I've talked to RISE, and I'm going to post some things, but our students and parents need resources immediately for mental health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is, what is your position regarding campus security? O3?
Yes, thank you. I've been the lead campus safety officer at El Cerrito High School, working with our children day in and day out. I have done a lot to help our kids in many challenges and making sure that the safety of our young people day in and day out. I can give a personal example of a situation that happened at El Cerrito High School back in 2014, when we had a shooter outside the school. And I was out there with some young people, and I actually helped them to get to safety and made sure that the campus went on lockdown and made sure that every student was in and safe until the police and everybody came to deal with the situation. Safety means a lot. We want to make sure that we don't have no intruders come on campus. But then at the same time, we want to make sure that our kids day in and day out, that mentally, that they have the resources and then the protection. As the campus safety officer at El Cerrito High School, I talk to these kids every day. I don't make a difference in none of the kids. I show love to every nationality on campus. I work closely with JMP. I work closely with the Restorative Justice program to make sure that we bring up our restorative justice. I make sure that we are fighting to keep our kids safe. And it goes from emotionally to psychologically. It's a lot of things, but we have to make sure that we are constantly in the ears of these kids, listening to them, and also making sure that they have everything they need. As the campus safety officer going onto the board, I will make sure safety is the number one, making sure that all the resources are there to help our young people to feel secure and safe, and not worrying about anything that comes on that campus. Because when a child feels safe, that child is going to learn. And so my job is to do that. And as a school board member trustee, I will do that to make sure our kids are safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Anne, this is Linda, the moderator. I'm going to ask our candidates to stick to the 1 minute allocation. I know you all have a lot to say, but we have to stick to our time. And then everybody's going over our 1 minute. Robert might have to mute you if you don't stick to the time. So please, 1 minute answers. Thank you.
Okay. Now the same question, Guadalupe. I'll repeat the question. What is your position regarding campus security?
My position regarding campus security has always been first. 2 years ago on the LCAPs, around the LCAP, we recommended that the funding for security officers be moved out of the LCAP and into the general budget. With that being achieved, I think right now we're in a deficit. We have to look at, cuts have to be made. And if it's not particularly going to educate our children, then, we're making those hard cuts. That's one thing that we don't need. And not just based on personal feeling, but also on the committees that the district has implemented and the recommendations that many of these committees have come forward with. ASAP brought up, their recommendations. The LCAPs have their recommendations on, where that money can be better invested, in the mental health services and, supporting our students versus surveilling them. We have to make sure that the system's in place, not because they're there means that they're working. So I don't agree with security officers on campus.
Thank you very much. Audra, what is your position regarding campus security?
This is a very difficult discussion for me. And what I mean is that I think that we need to be really informed with something so serious. What I do know, teachers and administrators are not trained to handle crime and should not have to. Teachers and students need increased support services. We need to think about increasing counselors, restorative justice activities and programs, and more interventions that get to the root cause of the trauma in our communities. We're not in person yet, so I think this is the perfect time to start thinking through a plan that is inclusive of input from teachers, parents, students, staff, and law enforcement. There should be a collaborative conversation. In my opinion, if we were not in distance learning, we may have even had some issues on campus without SROs on campus. Who's to say? But I think we need to come together to determine the best path for our district, for our schools. And it's a collaborative conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, what should be the new priorities for Measure R funding regarding our facilities master plan? And I'm going to start with you, Audra.
Thank you very much. Let me just say this. It's not at all lost on me that in the same district, we have schools that look like they should be on the front of a magazine. And then we have classrooms that don't even have windows. That's very disheartening for me. Knowing that this bond already passed, I want to fight to prioritize our schools in Richmond that are long, long overdue. We've been overlooked in this community. Once we're out of distance learning and we're back in the classrooms, the research is clear that students do better if their environment is nicely kept and inviting. That's what our babies deserve, and not some of our babies, all of our babies. To be honest, I'm very frustrated that Kennedy has been skipped over for new projects. That's not equity. My big picture goal is to make Richmond attractive for the future of businesses, to homeowners, to small business owners. Why? Because that means a good future for our students. We need to change that image so our students can have pride in where they live and can secure a good future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Guadalupe, how would you answer the same question? What should the new priorities for Measure F funding, what should be the new priorities for Measure R funding regarding our facilities master plan?
Okay, well, first of all, Measure R is a measure for classroom modernization and safety updates, as well as to be used for technology. I am part of the CBOC, and we have been focusing in when we approved this ballot on transparency and accountability and oversight. Also looking into the current facilities master plan. The master plan was implemented in 2016. So I think really looking at what that master plan holds and updating it to fit the current needs of the district.
Thank you. Othari, how would you answer that question?
Yes, thank you. Number one, that the bond measure that was passed, Measure R, which we have $575 million. And we want to make sure that equity is done across the board. We want to make sure that our schools in Richmond, the ones that are left undone, we want to make sure Stage Elementary School is rebuilt. And we also want to make sure Kennedy High School is rebuilt. And also we want to make sure that Richmond High School is also rebuilt. We want to make sure that our students get a nice school with clean air flowing through the building, and they have windows, and then they feel good and they feel positive about their school campus, and they take pride in being there on that campus. I can speak, for example, being at El Cerrito High School, being on a brand new campus, where kids do take pride on being on the new campus and enjoying the sports activities and so forth. So what I'm saying is that the bond money that's been passed, I want to see our schools in Richmond, Area 2. I want to see Area 2 shine. I want to see our low income area come up to a good high standard, and where all of our families, everybody feeling good about their schools. I am the advocate to make it happen, and I'm ready to push forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Naomi?
Okay, here I am. Can everybody hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, okay. Question 6. What programs or resources do you think the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning? And I'll take this one and give it to Audrey. Audrey?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I was on mute. What I'll say is that mental health and wellness are paramount to me. It's something you're going to hear me talk about a lot, not only through this campaign. I talked about it before I started campaigning. I engage with my team. I engage with every youth that I'm involved in and talk about it. As far as programs, I'm not sure yet what programs are going to be most beneficial. What I always believe in is equity and inclusion. I believe that we should open up the table before I, as an adult, make a decision. I should bring the most important stakeholder to the table, our students. So in my opinion, we shouldn't just do surveys. At the end of the day, we need to hear from our students in multiple ways, multiple times. We need to hear from their parents multiple ways, multiple times. We need to do this as a community. Most of the work that we're going to have to do to actually change this system and create a new one, we're going to have to work collectively. So I think we're going to have to come together, hear from our students, and then look at data and determine which way to go. Thank you.
Arthur Lee, I'll read that same question to you. What programs or resources do you think that the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that question because as I think about that question, social emotional learning plays a major role. We need resources through our counselors, through many things that can help our kids overcome. I want to say this. I was a student that sat one time in those seats at Martin Luther King School, Adams, and graduated from Kennedy. I went through a lot as a kid coming up and a lot of things I experienced, but I didn't have the support. I didn't have no one to help me to go to the next level. And I struggled through school. I struggled to make it, to keep my grades up. And sometimes I felt that I wasn't able to do it. And so, but I didn't give up. So when I see the kids today, I'm looking at the same ones, and I encourage every last young person to don't give up. And I point them with resources. I send them to JMP or the RISE Center or different things that can help our kids, restorative justice, many things that can help our kids. Because I used to be one of those kids that were out there, and I can identify. And as a board member, as a board trustee, I'm going to fight for these young kids. I'm going to fight for these students, for every background, every nationality.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Lupe, I'm going to ask you the same question. What programs or resources do you think that the district can put in place to handle social emotional learning?
Well, to me right now, this is a perfect time, I think, to be innovative. I think we have to reimagine and restructure the programs and the systems currently being used. You know, we have to train all our staff. That means anyone who interacts with our students, but we also have to have systems in place that can give us the data that we need of the implementation and success of these programs. I think we have to be data driven, and we have to make sure that, you know, we're getting that feedback of the programs that we're wanting to implement. Not just, like you said, you know, what would I like? I mean, I can like many things, but, you know, are those things necessarily going to be working for our schools, for our certain schools? So I think really focusing in on, you know, reimagining, restructuring, not going back to where we were at because what we had wasn't working. So this is the time to like really reimagine, bring stakeholders to the table, and, you know, figure things out within our means.
Okay, thank you. Question 7. How should the district address the issues of co-location with charter school? And I'll start this question off with Arthur Lee.
Yes, charter schools are here. We have to partnership and work collaboratively to make sure we don't need no more charter schools, but work with the charter schools we have and making sure that all of our kids get an education, making sure all of our kids are loved on, and making sure they all have the resources. As a board member, I want to make sure that we build up our attendance in this district, making sure that we focusing on areas to improve in our school system here, making sure that we have the resources to see our school district stand out as a #1 district in this area. So my job as a board member is to make sure that we reach out to all those who have fallen by the wayside, bring them back into the family, that we can build a stronger education here in this district.
Okay, thank you. The second person I'm going to go to for this question is Lupe. How should the district address the issues of the co-locations with the charter schools?
I think we need to address the co-location of charter schools by really focusing in on the impact not just the two schools being together, but the impact that it'll have within our students. Making sure that our students are not going to be, taken from to give to a charter school. Making sure that when they were talking about the expansion in Pinot, the co-location in Pinot, we were giving away one of our science buildings to the charter schools with the hope of, building a new one for our public schools. We have a lot of hope sometimes, but I think at the same time, we need to have plans in place before we even start having those conversations. We need to really focus in on, like I said, the impact that it brings to our schools, the impact that it brings to our students and to the families. So, that's my feeling. I think we need to really have conversations around this and, what that does, in the bigger picture.
Okay. The third person would be you, Audrey. How should the district address the issues of co-locations with charter schools?
Thank you very much for that. I think that, let me just say this just in general. I really look forward to the day when every neighborhood school is fully able to meet the needs of our students. It's a really common topic. And what I would say is I think we need to apply equity. I think we also need to ensure that our students in our district are safe, supported, and in position to grow. We're talking about changing a system. And now, as we're talking about changing a system, we've added some new things to an existing system. I think as always, you're always going to hear me say this. We need to have discussions and we need to be inclusive about the discussion. We need to bring the community in. We need to bring, and I'm talking about the students, the parents, the teachers, the administrators, so that we can address the concerns. I noticed there was one school board meeting where there was this huge issue of a co-location scenario. We've got to talk about it because we've got to get through this.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the next question, question 8. How will you address the digital divide in our district? And I think I'll start this one with Lupe.
To me, addressing the digital divide is not just something that we address within West Contra Costa. I think that's a bigger conversation that we need to have. I think that we need to bring, the conversations in with our elected city officials. I truly believe in partnership. I believe that, conversations need to happen. And I think that we need to stop independently taking things on and, looking to our cities for support, looking to our cities, to get things done because, right now the digital divide it's a big one. And, in ensuring that, that's something that we're electing, but it's all, actually an essential thing right now. If we don't have children with internet, then, they're not getting educated. If parents are, they don't have the access, they're not receiving the messages. So I think really having a broader conversation with our elected officials and forming a partnership of how we could get that, not just for our students, but for our citywide, purpose.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the same question. How will you address the digital divide in our district? And this one will go to Audrey.
Thank you very much. To be honest, a lot of the things that Guadalupe said are things that I have talked about and I'm listing, so I'm absolutely in agreement. I also think that we may want to consider looking at outside funding. I don't know what that exactly looks like, but I know that there's a lot of technology companies that have partnerships in our district. And at this point, we need to collectively come to them to say, our priority is if our kids have tablets, that's great. Without internet, that's a problem. We have areas where our hotspots aren't working for our children. So I agree. This is a bigger discussion than Richmond, our district, WCCUSD. It's going on nationwide. But at the end of the day, we've got to figure out new solutions. What I'll say is that internet, we're in Silicon, we're right next to Silicon Valley. I think we need to collectively come together as a whole district and figure out who to write, what's right. We've already got some partnerships in place, but let's figure out who our network is within our district, who our connections are within our district, and collectively bombard and ask these technology companies that are right here in our backyards to support our students.
Okay. The next person, how will you address the digital divide in our district, B03?
Yes, thank you. It goes back to equity, equity, equity across the board. Number one, that we got to make sure that our kids, and especially in low-income areas, have all the things they need. We got to fight day in and day out. That means we got to make it happen. It has to become reality. I want to say this. We never thought that we would be in a situation that we're in now. We never thought we'd have a major being under COVID-19, where we all trying to make sure we stay safe. But in the midst of this, it teaches us that we have to plan and look ahead in the future. But I want to make sure that as we learn from this, I want to make sure that we build partnership with companies throughout this area to make sure that our kids have these resources, making sure that we apply for grants, making sure that we're not wasting no time. So when those individuals are in positions to do it, they are able to make it happen. So we got to make sure it happens. We just can't just have lip service. We got to be about reality and seeing things done. So I'm the person that to understand that this is a must and then this is a need for every child to have the technology.
Okay. This will be question 9. What is your position regarding approving more charter schools in our district? And I think I'll take this one to Audrey.
Thank you very much. So July 1, 2020, AB 1505 was passed. And the short of it is this. The expectation is that we simply comply with what we're required to comply with. That's the short of it. We have to stay compliant. We have to do what's legal. If you look at that, what's stated, there's also language that talks about if there's going to be impact negatively to our local schools, to our local communities, we have the ability to absolutely deny a charter school. So at the end of the day, we should be compliant and do what's legal. And then after that, if there's going to be harm done to our community, if there's going to be harm done to our kids, if there's going to be harm done to them as students, we absolutely should not allow anything in any form to do that to our students. Thank you.
Okay. That's the same question. What is your position regarding approving more charter schools in our district? And this one will go to 03.
All right, thank you. The answer to that question, we don't need any more charter schools. We already have a lot of charter schools in this area, but let's continue to build education. Let's continue to build our public schools. Let's continue to let's make a campaign that we reach out and start building our schools, getting our schools moving and bringing in arts, bringing in trades, bringing in all the technologies and things that can help our kids and inspire the desire in them to achieve their goals. Because every student has what it takes to make it. Every student has gifts. Every background has gifts and talents. And if we empower our kids, we don't need any more charter schools, but what we have, let's build, let's grow, and let's make this district a top #1 district in this area.
Okay. What is your position regarding the approving more charter schools in our district? Lupe?
I agree that in West Contra Costa, we have to, as school board members, we have to abide by the law. But with the addition of now being able to look at the fiscal impact of the charter schools on our district budget, with that being said, I would want to see and I would want to implement, an oversight of our charter schools. And when I say that is because, we need the data. We have been overwhelmed by charter schools and applications into this district. And if the charter schools that we currently have are working now for our district, why do we keep adding more? So I think, we need to really focus in on oversight, not just our public schools, but oversight at our charter schools so that data can actually be informed and inform the community, because that's been a challenge. how could we get the accurate data on how our schools are functioning if we have nothing to support it? So, like I said, I think looking at what they're bringing to the table and making sure that we're not being outgrown by them.
Okay, thank you. This will be the last question for all. The West County Mandarin School serves to students from across the district. The school has outgrown its current site at the Sierra campus in Richmond and is slated to move to the temporary portable campus at Potro in El Cerrito. Families have requested that we move instead to the abandoned Adams School, which is a block away from Sarah, and put portables there. My question is, would you support the financial investment to have the school move to Adams? Why and why not? And I'll take the first question to 03.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Number one, Adams is not safe. It's on the Hayward fault line. And then it would take too much money to actually put portables there. So why not look at the place over in El Cerrito? It's already there where Portland used to sit, where the portables are already there, and it would take too much money. And number one, we are already in a budget crisis. Our district is way up there, and so we don't need to continue. We don't need to add the debt to anything, but let's use what we have. And so I'll be supportive for it to go over to where the Portland campus used to be.
Okay. I'm just going to read the part of the question for you, not the whole thing, unless you want me to. Would you support the financial investments to have the school move to Adams? Why or why not? And I'll ask Lupe.
To me, that's a question that I always say, we need to have conversation over. This is not something that I will decide on today because we really have to have stakeholders at the table. We can't keep, working on this is, going to be a hardship on our budget. I want to see why it's going to be a hardship on our budget. We have to support every action that we take. So we're saying, this is not a safe building. Show us why this is not a safe building. We have to build that communication. We have to build that relationship with the stakeholders involved to then be able to make these decisions. We can't just keep talking to people. We have to talk with people. And, once we have those conversations, I think we can find mutual ground of what's going to be best for our students, what's going to be best for the families. And not just because they're being told, but because we actually are presenting them with pieces on our whys and having to hear them on what their needs are as well.
Okay. The last person, would you want me to say the entire question, or I can just go to, would you support the financial investment to have the school move to Adams? If so, why? And if so, why not?
Thank you very much for that question. My short answer is absolutely not. The space was already declared safe. So in order for it to be safe, there's a large investment that has to happen for that to happen. So my concern is, I'm going to be very honest, I'm saddened that we're having to have this discussion. I'm saddened that we're talking about this because the reality is the review plan, I would say we could review the plan and ensure it's equitable, but it's unsafe. It needs to have access. We need to assess the actual cost. And let me say this. I think I'm concerned also for the equity in our district. We have schools like Kennedy who have been on lists for years. And it feels like other projects are able to play leapfrog and skip past Kennedy. So for me, equity is really big. It's always going to be on my plate. So for me, it's not safe, and that's the main reason. But I think we should look at equity in our district.
Okay, thank you guys. I'll turn it back over to Linda now. Oh, no.
Go.
Yeah, you have to do your,
Yes. Go ahead, Naomi.
oh, okay. Well, I would like for you guys to do your, what I'm trying to say.
The closing summary.
Yeah, the closing summary for this. I'm my first time on TV too.
So,
Okay.
yeah, all three have 2 minutes each. And so Naomi, decide who do you want to go first?
Okay, Audrey, you go first.
I just went. Am I next?
Yeah, you're next for this one for your
Okay.
closing summary.
That seems okay. So be it. First of all, I want to thank you all for this opportunity to come and speak. I've been in our district for 14 years. And in that entire time that I've been here, I've been working for our youth. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a small business owner. And I have poured into our youth in our community. I've brought programs of my own to the district and voluntarily given them at Coronado Elementary. When Coronado Elementary was on the chopping blocks to be closed, myself and my young children were at the school board on a weekly basis, showing up, fighting. And when we fought, Coronado remained open and was rebuilt. As a member of ASAT and the co-chair, we fought. And as a result, we have a resolution for our African American and Black students. And we have $3.2 million assigned to them so far. I'm a fighter. When I first came to Richmond, I bought my home in 2006, and I literally had to fight to get into it. I'm a fighter. Richmond is known as the city of pride and purpose. My desire is for our students to know who they are, what they come from, for there to be equity, for our students to be successful, for our students to feel good about where they live, to feel good about what they contribute to their community, and to feel good about their futures. Our children not only deserve to feel good about where they live, they deserve to feel good about where they're going. Our children should leave our high schools and our system ready and prepared for their next level, whether it be that they want to go to a trade school, whether they want to be an EMT, whether they want to go to a 2-year institution for college, if they want to go to a 4-year. The short of it is this: change is not coming. Change is here, and I'm that change. I've been fighting for 14 years in this district, but I fought before that, and I'm going to continue fighting after that. So at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is people to vote for me who believe in our kids and believe in our district and believe in me. Change is here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 03, you can go with your closing remarks, please.
Yes, thank you. I am a product from this area. I was born and raised, grew up in Richmond. My family came here in the 40s. I have an aunt named Lily Mae Jones who fought hard in the community in the city of Richmond. If you Google Lily Mae Jones, that's my auntie. She worked hard, diligently, day in and day out, and fought for the needs of our young people and people all over the community of Richmond. I'm going to fight for our young people. Why? Because I understand their needs. I was a student at Martin Luther King School, at Adams, and Kennedy High School. I struggled as a student. I struggled day in and day out. I was bullied. I was messed with, but I didn't have nobody to turn to. I didn't have no mentors. I didn't have any, but in me, I wanted to make it. I wanted to be that student to continue to push forward. And I did graduate from Kennedy High School, and I went on to higher education. But what I learned, that my district failed me and did not prepare me like I should have been prepared. I didn't get the things I needed. When I got to Howard University, I didn't realize that I missed out on a lot of things. I struggled as a student. I struggled. And I had to sit out a semester at Howard University. But you know what I did? I went to a junior college out there in Washington, D.C. to get myself together. And then I sent my stuff back to Howard, and they allowed me to come back in. And I went through and I graduated from Howard. I'm that student that struggled. And I see these young people day in and day out from El Cerrito High School and all the young people I communicate with. I encourage them, don't give up. I pointed them in directions to get resources, to get help, because I've been a mentor. I've been there in a corner. I fought for them. I done seen young people die on the streets out here in Richmond. I've been out here. I live in the Iron Triangle. I've worked in the Iron Triangle to improve the condition. I was the neighborhood council president.
Thank
I worked
you.
hard
Thank you.
to improve the neighborhood council.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Lupe, you'll be bringing up.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for this invitation. When, I decided to run because, I truly believe that everybody needs to be represented at the board. As a mother with 4 sons, we don't get a day off. We're currently showing up. I'm currently showing up. I am a product of West Contra Costa. I lived in Richmond all my life. And, as a young mother, I've struggled. I've struggled very hard to make sure that the needs of my sons, as well as the needs of other students, have been met, whether it be struggling through, with my son, through the special needs program at a young age, a system that, is predominantly put there to, that's not supported. So I think even me showing up here today, me being here today shows, that I am in it for the long run. I'm not in it just for November 3rd. I'm in it, and I've been here, and I'm going to continue to be a support system for all our 30,000 students, not just, some, but really focusing in on our students as a whole. I'm a mother. I'm not here, being the expert of, the know-it-all, but I have invested a lot of time to learn and to support the district, the parents, and the community, to form partnerships, to make sure that we're leading by example, that we're present, that, we're talking to, not talking at. And like I said, me being here, struggling with my own things, personal things, my son currently is in the hospital. And that's been something hard to cope with, but I'm still showing up. I'm making sure that, his needs are met, that I'm, constantly there for him, but that I'm here also because I know the need that our community has to be accurately represented. And I want to be that representation. I want to be that voice of the parent, and that's it. That's what I'm willing to offer. And I'm here, and, I want to be your elected official.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank all of the contestants that spoke, the candidates that spoke. And I'll turn you back over to Linda. And congratulations, you guys.
Yep. Thank you. I too want to thank O3 Christian, Guadalupe, Liana, and Audra Goldie Williams for a great session, a lot of information. I want to thank Naomi and Anne for assisting us today for our trustee areas 1 and 2.